at Property Tribes, we've recently introduced some new community protocols that we're only going to allow deal sourcers and lettings agents who are members of an ombudsman scheme to post on the forum. And the reason for this is that a lot of the property area is unregulated, and we want to create a safe community. And joining me now to discuss that is Clifford Tibber from our legal partner, Anthony Gold. And Cliff, you deal with kind of a lot of property-related cases where things have turned sour. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
I deal with a lot of litigation where people have invested money, entered a joint venture with somebody, and it's all gone pear-shaped.
And are you busy?
I'm extremely busy. It's quite extraordinary how few times people will actually bother to read paperwork, get paperwork, sign anything, take advice. They see a great deal, they want to rush their money into it and wait for the returns. Sadly, the returns don't happen.
Indeed, and that's when they appear on Property Tribes as well, and we hear about their stories. And I think the thing is that people have to understand that sort of what we call the wealth creation industry is completely unregulated, and for that reason, unfortunately, it does attract a lot of rogues, and really it is a case of due diligence, due diligence, due diligence.
Absolutely. If somebody presents you a deal that says, I'll give you a 25% return on your money in 3 weeks' time, that's probably never going to happen. It's worth having a look at it. It may do. There may be deals to be had out there, but on the whole, check them carefully. Know who you're dealing with. What's the deal? Is the deal written down? Are your interests protected? If you're buying a property together, is your interest on that property protected so that it can't be sold from under you without you being repaid? All sorts of checks to make. If you make those, you'll be fine.
And, you know, there's very often in property, there are large transactional sums involved. This again attracts charlatans and rogues. And surely, a bit of best practice advice would be not to pay large sums of money up front.
It depends what you call large. There's plenty of people who will pay 10, 15, 20,000 pounds and they'll think, well, who's going to rip me off for that sort of money? When they're getting that sort of money off 100, 200 people, they're doing very well out of it. And too many people think, well, okay, I've done 15 grand, I've done 20 grand, I'm never going to get it back. I've learned. Sadly, usually they haven't. And sadly, they'll never get it back again.
Well, I know, and that's when they come to you as well, actually. And, even we've seen cases where people have had a first charge on a property. Yes, that is a form of security, but to actually redeem that charge and get control of the property again, it's actually a very expensive legal process. And people have to bear that in mind, that if things do turn sour, they may need quite significant fees for legal processes to get control of what they're doing.
Well, the ones who've got a legal charge are the lucky ones.
Yeah.
But if, as you say, if you've got a legal charge and the deal goes pear-shaped and you have to sell the property, you don't know whether you're selling in a falling market. Usually these deals rely on the property having been refurbished before there's any money in it. So if the refurbishment doesn't happen, great, you've got a charge on a property.
Yeah.
But you're the one that's then going to have to fork out more money to refurbish it so that you can realise the deal. So, as you said before, check what you're buying. Check the paperwork and preferably get somebody independent in to advise you. Never use the lenders or the joint venture partners solicitors. Use your own.
Yes, you've got to have independent legal representation. And, we hear in joint ventures of people, perhaps newbies that are putting in large sums of money to buy the property and refurbishment costs, and then the so-called joint venture partner is just contributing their experience. Now, do you think that a true joint venture is when two people both have some skin in the game?
There's another scenario where you're paying for somebody to go out and find the property, and they're not putting anything in other than finding the property for you to put your money into. Clearly, if your joint venture partner is not putting money in and is just selling it to you on the basis that he's got the knowledge and experience, then maybe your share of the deal should be significantly higher to reflect that fact.
Indeed. And, we mentioned deal sources. They have to be regulated by law by an ombudsman scheme. That would be a good thing as part of the due diligence process, wouldn't it? For somebody thinking of buying a deal from a sourcer would be to check their ombudsman membership.
Of course.
And is there anything else they can do?
Apart from if you carry out due diligence, ask them for recommendations, ask them to let you talk to people they've dealt with before. Check that they do actually own the properties that they're talking about, or that you're going to own it jointly with them. Check the legal side of it. You can do all sorts of due diligence. And if it's a property investment, for goodness sake, go and look at the property. I don't care which end of the country it is and which end of the country you are. If you're investing 20, 30, 40,000 pounds, go and have a look. Make sure it's there. What condition it's in. Is it tenanted? I've had many cases where people have had these joint investments only to find they can't do anything because the tenant in there paying nothing a week.
Very good advice. And just to finish, we do know of consumer protection things like the cooling off period and refund policies and whatnot. But again, in an unregulated space, these people are not going to adhere to that, and there's really no enforcement of that unless it runs into the millions, is there?
Don't rely on cooling off periods or any of those sort of things, because the cooling off period is effectively the time when you will be doing your due diligence before you enter into the deal. If you're not sure about the deal, don't enter into it and rely on a cooling off period to get your money back, because once you've parted with your money to a fraudster, you're not getting it back.
Absolutely. There's a very famous saying, there's a mug in every property deal. If you can't see who it is, it's probably you.